Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Ryan Widmer? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case. I'll move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Ryan and Sarah Widmer lived in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. Ryan graduated from college in 2004 with a degree in sports studies. He worked in sports marketing. Sarah graduated from high school in 2002 and became a dental hygienist. The couple met in August 2006 and became romantically involved. Sarah was described as having a take-charge attitude, whereas Ryan was considered easygoing. The couple married on April 19, 2008. They lived in a 4-bedroom house in Hamilton Township, Ohio, which is about 25 miles north of Cincinnati. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. We go to August 11, 2008. At this time, Ryan is 27 and Sarah is 24. They are both in their house. They are the only two people there. At 10:49 p.m., Ryan called 911. He told the dispatcher, "My wife fell asleep in the bathtub and I think she's dead." During the course of the call, the dispatcher advised Ryan to lift his wife out of the bathtub and administer CPR. Ryan would later say that he drained the bathtub and pulled Sarah up, but did not lift her out until being told to do so by the dispatcher. First responders arrived in about 6.5 minutes. They found Sarah unresponsive on the bathroom floor next to the bathtub. She was pronounced dead at 11:41 p.m. after being transported to the hospital. The investigation revealed Sarah's cause of death was drowning. Ryan was charged with murder. In 2009, he was convicted. Not long after this, his conviction was overturned when it came to light that 4 of the jurors had conducted bathtub-related experiments at home and shared their results with the other jury members. They did this because Sarah's body was dry when first responders arrived, and this became a major issue in the trial. Ryan was tried for a second time in 2010. The jury deliberated for 30 hours but could not agree on a verdict. They doubted that any jury could ever agree on this case. Ryan's third trial took place in 2011. This time he was convicted of murder after 12 hours of deliberation. He was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. He is eligible for parole in July of 2025. Now moving to my analysis. Many people believe that Ryan Widmer is innocent and point to severe problems in the state's case. Before I examine the evidence, I want to talk about the possible scenarios in this case. There were only 2 people in the house when Sarah drowned, Sarah and Ryan. There was no evidence of an intruder, and no one involved in the case has ever made that assertion. There were no substances in Sarah's system. It is highly unlikely that Sarah fell asleep and drowned. If she had fallen asleep in the bathtub, she would have woken up after submerging in the water. Even the defense agreed that Sarah did not fall asleep and drown. It is also unlikely that she brought an end to her own life by drowning without substances being involved. This leaves only 3 possibilities. 1. Ryan caused Sarah's death. 2. Sarah fell in the bathtub and hit her head without leaving medical evidence behind. Or 3. Sarah developed a condition which caused a seizure or something similar, which incapacitated her and led to her drowning. All 3 of these scenarios are low probability events, but one must be true. With this in mind, let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that Ryan Widmer is guilty, starting with the inculpatory evidence. When first responders arrived, Sarah's hair was wet or damp, but her body was described as rather dry or not overly moist. Ryan specifically mentioned to the dispatcher that he was downstairs before coming upstairs and finding his wife, as if he was trying to set up his alibi. Ryan told the police that he was watching a Bengals preseason game on the downstairs TV, but the downstairs TV was not set to that channel. The upstairs TV was. Ryan explained this by saying he had just switched channels to check on the Olympic Games. The police found 2 types of marks on the bathtub, which they thought were suspicious. One was a set of claw marks, as if someone's fingers had run across the bathtub. These didn't cause damage to the bathtub, they were just marks on the surface. The other was a forearm print on the edge of the bathtub. There was a Lysol towelette crumpled on the edge of the bathtub, as if someone was trying to clean up the area. Ryan told the dispatcher and the police that he found his wife face down in the water. Ryan changed his story later, saying she was face up. Ryan drank 4 beers the night of Sarah's death. Perhaps the alcohol consumption caused him to be disinhibited. Now moving to the exculpatory factors. When first responders arrived, the bathroom was not wet. It did not look like a bathtub struggle had taken place. There was actually no sign of a struggle of any type anywhere in the house. There were no wet towels in the house and no towels in the dryer. Sarah did not have any obvious signs of injury anywhere on her body at the scene. She did not have any damage to her fingernails, which were done with a French manicure. Her toenails, which were painted pink, were also undamaged. Later, it was reported that Sarah had some bruising on her head and neck, but that may have been caused by first responders working to revive her. Those injuries didn't show up until later. Sarah's skin was warm when first responders arrived, which is consistent with Ryan's story. An experiment performed by an expert witness demonstrated a person climbing out of a bathtub could dry in 7 minutes, which is only 30 seconds longer than the response time from emergency workers. Ryan did not have any injuries. When first responders arrived, he was only wearing boxer briefs, so they were able to see his body fairly well. The couple had no history of domestic violence. By all accounts, Ryan and Sarah had a loving and supportive marriage. No one reported any problems with their relationship. Ryan had no motive to commit murder. Sarah did not have a life insurance policy, although it is worth noting that she applied for coverage at work 2 weeks before her death. The policy was not in effect when she died, but perhaps Ryan did not know that. Sarah had a history of sleepiness, stomach aches, and headaches. She would see spots and her vision would become blurry. The sleepiness was so pronounced it became disruptive in her daily life. Sarah could not make it through an entire movie without falling asleep. Friends gave her the nickname Sleeper. Sarah's brother and some of her friends said that she had a history of falling asleep in the bathtub. In the hours leading up to her death, Sarah told several people she did not feel well. 1 to 2% of unexpected deaths are among those under 35. 1/3 of those people have a normal autopsy. In 2008, there were 16 accidental bathtub drownings in Ohio. Sarah could have had a seizure. 1% of people will suffer a seizure in their lifetime. When considering all the evidence, do I think that Ryan Widmer was guilty? No, I do not think he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but I do think he was guilty in reality. Although, I am close to the fence as far as his guilt in reality. This case is really too close to call. As far as looking at it in terms of the balance of probability, it's right on the edge. Moving to the next section, here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Sarah had a number of unusual and unexplained medical symptoms. There are many theories about what illnesses or conditions she may have had. For example, she could have had long QT syndrome, narcolepsy, migraines, or epilepsy. Some of the symptoms from those conditions could have explained how she drowned. However, there is something else to consider. Ryan may have taken advantage of Sarah's symptoms, including her well-known sleepiness problem. Like he wanted to kill her, and he realized that he could drown her in the bathtub and blame it on her tendency to fall asleep in the bathtub. This explains why this is the first thing he said to the 911 dispatcher. The problem is that Ryan did not realize that Sarah could not have drowned that way in reality. Item number 2. Ryan's lack of motive was a problem for the state's case. Why would a seemingly happy newlywed kill his wife? The best theory the state could come up with is that he was upset because his wife earned $60,000 a year and he only earned $50,000 a year. This is the old lethal pay differential motive. Seems like the state is really reaching here. They were desperate to find some reason Ryan would have killed his wife. Item number 3. The state did not know how Ryan actually committed the homicide. They said that he did it, but they didn't know how he did it. How could a man drown his wife and cause no injuries to either party. If Ryan is guilty, he is an incredible ninja-like master assassin. Item number 4. The state was so desperate to build a case against Ryan, they even found a mystery witness named Jennifer Crew who said that Ryan confessed. She was a potential love interest who communicated with Ryan. To say that Jennifer Crew was not credible is a bit of an understatement. She had 4 convictions for crimes of dishonesty and had obtained habitual offender status. She had bipolar disorder and used narcotics for years. Later, she also used methadone for years. And she waited 6 months to come forward, claiming that she was afraid of Ryan because he threatened her. If one were to believe Jennifer's story about what Ryan said when he confessed to her, this would have meant that Sarah was angry the night that she was murdered. She told Ryan that she was going to leave, but first, she decided to take a bath. Item number 5. Ryan was offered a plea deal. He could have pleaded guilty to a lesser charge and spent a maximum of 5 years in prison. One would think that if he was guilty, he would have jumped at the chance not to spend life in prison. Item number 6. The reasoning abilities of the first and third juries could be called into question. Again, these are the 2 juries who found Ryan guilty. I will look at some of the reports about each jury. With the first jury, they were influenced by the theory that Sarah was in rigor mortis. Apparently, a paramedic testified that her chin didn't move very easily, so rigor mortis may have set in. No other experts suggested rigor mortis during the course of the trial. So that was just something that one person casually mentioned, and that was not based on any science. But somehow the jury was strongly influenced by it. They believed that Ryan was controlling because he checked on Sarah's purchases. Like so many potential motives in this case, it's a stretch to connect that to murder. The first jury believed that Sarah's French manicure nails were made of acrylic, therefore could not inflict scratches. So Sarah tried to defend herself, but she didn't end up scratching Ryan because of those nails. There are 2 problems with this theory. 1, acrylic nails can cause scratches, and 2, Sarah's manicure was actually painted on her natural fingernails. The first jury did not appear to pay attention to the trial. Moving to the jury for the third trial, here is what some of the jurors believed. Ryan just snapped. The murder was not planned. This is interesting because they convicted him of murder, an element of which was intent. So they're saying he didn't intend to do it, but they convict him of a crime that involves intentional behavior. They said that Ryan was a punk. They could tell he was guilty by looking at him. That's an amazing gift that could save the legal system a lot of time. They said that the evidence did not prove his innocence. I guess they forgot that the burden of proof was on the state. They were also troubled by the fact that Ryan did not testify on his own behalf. His choice not to testify is not supposed to be used against him. They were given specific instructions, which indicated that. One juror claimed that taking notes during the trial was not necessary because he had a total recall memory. I guess this is when somebody can remember Arnold Schwarzenegger movies from the 1990s. One juror found special significance in the fact that a dog can be heard barking in the beginning of the 911 call. He said this proved Sarah was already on the bathroom floor, which of course would contradict Ryan's story that she was in the bathtub when he called 911. The juror claimed that the dog would not have barked if Sarah was in the bathtub, because that is a natural place for a master to be. I guess this is why so many dog trainers teach dogs while sitting in a bathtub. Or maybe dogs value bathtub occupants so much because dogs are afraid of getting a bath. When they see someone brave enough to conquer bathtub fear, they are like, let's follow this guy. If he can defeat a bathtub, nothing can stop him. I'm surprised the state didn't call the dog as a witness. The dog probably would have been the best witness the state had put on the stand. Now moving to my final thoughts. The case of Ryan Widmer highlights how easy it is to be convicted without evidence and how capricious juries can be. The difference between being found guilty and not guilty in this case could have been as little as Ryan splashing water on his wife. Like if he had done that, he would have been acquitted. As I understand it, Ryan is trying to make the most of his life in prison. He told a reporter that he can occasionally purchase Mountain Dew and microwavable cheeseburgers. He said they are special compared to normal prison food. Any environment that leads someone to believe Mountain Dew is special probably qualifies as cruel and unusual punishment. This represents yet another injustice in this terrible case. Those are my thoughts on the case of Ryan Widmer. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comments section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis on this topic to be as intriguing as fearless bathtub dog pack leaders. Thanks for watching.